I want to quickly know exactly what you do, how it helps me, and why I should choose you. So you're a differentiator compared to the others. I want to quickly see your offer in action. So whether that's like a live demo that I can preview or a video review or something similar, so I can actually get under the hood of your offer or your software. I want to see some proof of results. So client case studies or customers that you help, customer review videos. I want to check the pricing. So I know it's actually in budget. So I don't need to speak to a salesperson to know how much it's actually going to cost me. Get my questions answered. So address common queries, concerns, and all that good stuff. And on the basis that those boxes are checked, I just want to easily schedule a time with a specialist who can cover my questions and help me progress forward. So it sounds like that part of the website is super basic, yet so many B2B and tech companies just don't manage to do that, i.e. their messaging on their homepage is confusing or unclear, or it's just copying their competitors, like the homepage headline is, we're the best at this, or we're a turbocharged AI tool to help boost your revenues. And it just lacks clarity, lacks differentiation, doesn't show folks like why they should choose you and how it's going to help them. And a lot of it really, Nemanja, comes down to customer research and understanding what your dream clients, aka the people that are going to buy your stuff, actually care about learning, seeing, doing, and taking action on. And unfortunately, a lot of startups neglect this. A lot of funded companies neglect that, sometimes because they've got pressure from VCs, or perhaps the exec team are just copying what the competitors are doing. So there's a lot of stuff around customer research that can really, really help your website in terms of messaging and actually ensuring it resonates.
Yeah, I mean, when they come to the website, it should actually increase the trust, not decrease it.
Yeah.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Funky Marketing Podcast. Today, I have a special guest, somebody who can I call a friend, a sir, and all these different kind of names, but somebody who also has a podcast, does great things when it comes to conversion rate optimization, website building, SEO things. And I'm going to let Sam introduce himself to you. But first, Sam, I want to ask you, because you follow soccer, you play football. What's your favorite team?
Oh man, yeah, Liverpool. Liverpool is my
Nice.
team. I'm one of those annoying people that plays a lot of football but knows very little about the sport.
That's actually good. You're on the right side of the track, looking from the health perspective and all those things.
Yeah. So I think if I followed football too closely, I'd only be disappointed all the time, especially as Liverpool have come so close recently to winning the league so many times.
I kind of feel the same, as I'm a Partizan fan, and we get into those couple of years when like one club is winning, then another one is winning.
Yeah.
And we are now in the moment when like we are so bad that it sucks.
Yeah, there's a lot of pain, a lot of emotion in football. So that's why I focus on playing it. Not that I'm that great, but good fun, good exercise, I guess. Like you with basketball, right?
Yeah. I mean, I also play like 3x3, those kind of things, but I'm not like playing professionally. That was years ago. So, I'm like a 40 years old guy, just playing for the sake of health and competitiveness, of course.
Yeah, man. It's nice to have that. Got to get away from the screen.
So tell me, I realized that I never asked you, about you, your team, who are the companies you are working with, those kind of things. So tell me a little bit more about what you guys do.
Yeah, appreciate it. So I'm the founder at Breaking B2B, and just like yourself, we've got a podcast which is called Breaking B2B, where a bit like this, I interview B2B marketing practitioners to really find out what's driving growth, typically at B2B SaaS companies. So we'll dive into a strategy that's working for them today and break it down. Or I do solo episodes, usually around B2B SEO or websites, or some of the weird experiments that I run around marketing for my own business. And then, my main company is breakingb2b.com. And we essentially work with B2B and SaaS companies that are a little bit tired of seeing competitors above them in organic search results on Google, kind of stealing traffic, mind share, and inbound leads. So we fix that with a bit of an unusual approach to SEO, content marketing, and websites. That's our focus, really.
Yeah, cool. So I like that we can have all kind of people, listening, especially if you're streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube. Kyle asked, How do you get such a close shave?
A close shave. Well, just shave every morning. I'm one of those guys that has a baby face and cannot grow a beard or a mustache to save his life. So I have to shave. It's either that or I have terrible like half beard. So I can't grow a quality beard like Nemanja. I'm one of those baby face kids.
Yeah, I look the same as my father. That's kind of like in the genes.
Nice, man.
So I wanted to kick this off by having a sort of a discussion, because you and
Sure.
I, both are not focused that much on a technical SEO side, and I don't want to handle it from the technical side, but there are a lot of changes happening, especially with the search engines, with Google, with the involvement of AI, especially in the last year and a half. And I want to start there because I want to tackle which companies are the ones that should actually focus on SEO, right? In which phase of their growth, where they are. And so tell me, how do you see Google, how do you see SEO in these days? Looking from B2B, B2C perspective, let's just have, an opinion.
Yeah. So SEO is a funny old beast, right? Especially when you get into communities, when you get into channels like LinkedIn. Some folks are saying it's alive and booming. Others saying it's RIP since AI overviews has hit the search engine results page. Others are saying it's part of the ecosystem. I'm probably somewhere in there, really. So I'm of the sense that SEO, organic search, is very much best placed as a demand capture channel, in the sense that if your product, if your service, if your offer, if your software, if folks are aware that the offering that you provide, that you sell, actually exists, then that's when SEO is going to work at its very best. That's when you can almost guarantee that folks are searching on Google for it. They might be looking directly for the tool or the software or the service, or comparing you to competitors, or maybe searching for the problems that you fix or jobs that you help them get them done. And that's where SEO is at its very best. When it gets a bit trickier is when you're perhaps providing a solution that's maybe a bit newer, i.e. some kind of new category that folks just aren't aware exists, in which case SEO isn't always the best first go-to-market strategy. I'm happy to dive into what might be a better or more sound investment of time or resource. But yeah, like you say, there's a lot of shake-up going on in SEO at the moment with the introduction of AI overviews, so the instant AI results at the top of the fold when you search for certain queries, and the introduction of so many kind of different AI tools to produce content. I know when we last chatted, Nemanja, when we were on each other's podcast, probably 2 or 3 years ago, none of this stuff was really around. So there's been quite a big shake-up since we last spoke.
Yeah, exactly. And you said it really well, because the way I'm seeing it, if you don't have a brand, or, you don't solve a very specific problem, then maybe SEO is not the right time for you to go and invest, right? Because usually the way I see SEO is middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, part of the whole user journey. And also in that part, we're going to chat what kind of content do you need to create for those stages. But looking from that perspective, if you want to be on top of mind, usually you start with social. You start with LinkedIn in B2B space these days. You start with YouTube, with podcasts, with these kind of things that we are doing right now.
Sure.
And then, when you get to the list, right, of like 3 to 5 companies, and somebody from the company needs to make a decision, they go to Google. Then they look at you, they see, how are you related to the competitors? How are the reviews? They look at, maybe they look at the blog, they see, okay, these guys actually knows what they're talking about. Let me go, and then go back to LinkedIn. And then they say, okay, let me see if that actually resonates with what I found on Google, right?
Yeah.
Are these guys actually worth it? Do they have the experience, or they just wrote things just like that? Or they go to, I don't know, like Amazon Marketplace, or, Azure, and those kind of things, depending what you are selling. And it goes all around the way they might get back to Google, to find out different things. So it's definitely, the buyer journey is not linear, and a lot of stuff influence the decision-making process.
Completely agree. Like you said there, the best way to think of SEO is not the be all end all of everything. And I even sell SEO services, right? But it's if you're selling a service or a solution or a piece of software that is high ticket, I'm talking, I don't know, 50K, 60K average contract value or above, then folks just don't wake up and decide to spend that much cash on your offer. There's a lot of thought and process. And like you said, it might be that maybe they start with looking you up on LinkedIn, then eventually they search for the kind of software, like best software for category on Google. Then they see you at the top of the list, and then they speak to the rest of their exec team on Slack and say, look, I just saw these guys, these look cool, like, I think we should add these to our vendor list. And then they might forget about you for a few months, and then they might hear you on a podcast and come back and search on Google again. So it's especially in kind of higher ticket offerings, which a lot of the folks we work with are like, Google is one, or SEO rather, is one piece of the puzzle. But then if you want it to be of max value, then you've also got to understand where your target prospects are actually hanging out, spending their time, and the where they get their trusted information from. Because if you do SEO in almost a silo, like most marketing channels, it's not going to be as impactful as if you're kind of almost all bound, like where the other channels that those folks hang out at.
I mean, that's actually the time we are living in, right? So marketing became a bigger beast than just one channel, than just one person to handle the marketing, or just one company. It became, I look at it like a fifth utility, and it tackles so many things. Like we all remember, I don't need to repeat it, like 4Ps. Even we have 6Ps these days. So it tackles so many things inside the buying process, product development, and all those other stuff, that it's definitely not easy. But one thing that's essential, it's the website. Right? It's the foundation. It's where people go. Even though if we don't know that it's happening, they look for us on Google. Usually it's the website, and then it's LinkedIn, right? Or reverse, or however do we do it. But those are the things that people find, and that
Sure.
they represent us, who we are, right? And so how do we handle the website? It matters a lot, because this is where we show, do we understand, how do we position ourselves, how do we communicate that positioning, what's our unique value, and those kind of things. Tell me, how do you look at it? I usually look at the website as just an outlet.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the website plays different roles depending on your go-to-market, really. If you're mainly doing outbound, then it might be more of a reference, proof of concept. I've had an outbound email, I've had an outbound call, whatever, and I'm just checking the website that they actually can do what they say they can do. Whereas most B2B SaaS companies we deal with are kind of doing a bunch of channels. They're probably doing some paid media, they're probably doing some outbound, they're probably doing some SEO, they might run a podcast, they might do events, whatever. They're probably doing a bunch of things. And in that case, like you touched on, the website really does need to be your best salesperson, because it's live 24/7. And I think at this stage, I've interviewed maybe 403, 404 kind of B2B execs, marketing leaders on our show, Breaking B2B. And most of the time I just ask them, I say, like, what is important to you if you're evaluating a piece of B2B software or a new offer or a B2B service? Like, what do you want to see, or what do you care about? And most of them say the similar thing. They say, I want to land on a B2B website. I want to quickly know exactly what you do, how it helps me, and why I should choose you, so you're a differentiator compared to the others. I want to quickly see your offer in action. So whether that's like a live demo that I can preview, or a video review, or something similar, so I can actually get under the hood of your offer or your software. I want to see some proof of results, so client case studies or customers that you help, customer review videos. I want to check the pricing, so I know it's actually in budget, so I don't need to speak to a salesperson to know how much it's actually going to cost me. Get my questions answered, so address common queries, concerns, and all that good stuff. And on the basis that those boxes are checked, I just want to easily schedule a time with a specialist who can cover my questions and help me progress forward. So it sounds like that part of the website is super basic, yet so many B2B and tech companies just don't manage to do that, i.e. their messaging on their homepage is confusing or unclear, or it's just copying their competitors. Like the homepage headline is, we're the best at this, or we're a turbocharged AI tool to help boost your revenues, and it just lacks clarity, lacks differentiation, doesn't show folks like why they should choose you and how it's going to help them. And a lot of it really, Nemanja, comes down to customer research and understanding what your dream clients, aka the people that are going to buy your stuff, actually care about learning, seeing, doing, and taking action on. And unfortunately, a lot of startups neglect this. A lot of funded companies neglect that. Sometimes because they've got pressure from VCs, or perhaps the exec team are just copying what the competitors are doing. So there's a lot of stuff around customer research that can really, really help your website in terms of messaging and actually ensuring it resonates.
Yeah, I mean, when they come to the website, it should actually increase the trust, not decrease it.
Yeah.
Right. And it happens when you speak with the words from your customers. I usually get, I don't know, do you get that as well? Because you are interviewing a lot of stuff and doing a lot of things as well. Like, people tell me, when I go to your LinkedIn, when I go to your website, I see exactly the things that I want to say, but for some reason I don't say them. Right? I get that a lot, and it means that I actually understand my peers and the customers that I'm working with. And Amir added one thing, and I think you mentioned it, but I want to tackle it a little bit more, like website as a social proof.
Yeah.
That should be a place when we can see actually what we are doing, the size of the company and how it goes, and that actually makes us create different kind of website with different purposes.
It's a good point. And I think a lot of websites get social proof wrong as well. Social proof, like, for example, you might land on, let's say, a startup company that serves SMB, small to medium business, and then you might see logos of enterprise companies. So like, the common homepage setup is like top hero area or top banner area, and that'll have their main H1, the heading 1 tag, and the tagline. And hopefully that's where it clearly kind of demonstrates what you do, how it helps, and why you. And then you'll probably have on a SaaS website next to that maybe a video demo or something like that, or a nice screenshot of your offer in action. Then you've usually got the logo bar just underneath, like, we've helped 3,227 B2B tech businesses like do X result. But sometimes you'll see, like, on these SMB solution providers, they've got massive brands, like, what's a massive brand? I don't know, HubSpot or stuff like that. So they've got these huge brands, but they don't actually serve these huge brands, really. That's not their ICP. So not just using social proof, but actually tailoring it so it's relevant to who you're trying to attract. So if you're saying we serve these mammoth companies, but actually you want to be working with companies, I don't know, let's say mid-market, maybe up to 250 employees, whatever, it's not always helping you, because you might scare off the smaller fish. Or likewise, if you're a big fish and you only want to work with enterprise, but you're putting small logos, you can have the opposite effect. But yeah, social proof, like you said, like, website needs to be trustworthy. So as you scroll through, whether it's a homepage, a service page, a product page, making sure that you're backing up your claims. So if you're saying, for example, as we scroll through the homepage, you might say, these are usually the 3 main struggles that you might be facing, and here's the 3 solutions or ways that we fix that. And then you might have examples of, I don't know, if you serve marketing folks, you might have a director of marketing that then has their picture, has a quote from them that says, this was the problem we were facing, this was the impact, and this is why we chose them, and the end result. Or maybe video reviews. Like, there's so many cases for social proof on websites, but I think where folks go wrong is not necessarily tailoring it to the page or tailoring it to the ICP that they're trying to hit on. But yeah, there's a lot of ways we could talk about that.
Yeah, you reminded me now of a Salesforce website. I don't know if you've seen that. I see a lot of folks talking about it these days, because like, everybody knows who Salesforce is, right? So they're corporation, even bigger than just a corporation, and everybody knows them. So it's kind of obvious that they should focus on the bigger clients, right? Bigger companies. But then when you go to their website, what you see is they mention mid-sized businesses. Right.
Yeah.
And and when you think about it, they get the bigger logos coming to them inbound. It's happening. But for the bigger logos, they need to involve sales, and it complicates the process and it makes it slower. But on the other hand, for mid-sized businesses, they have product-led motion place, and they can convert on their own through the website.
Yeah, I was reading, I can't remember who, someone did a case study on LinkedIn recently on that. It was quite interesting. And they were saying that was the motion, right? Like you just said there, they want their homepage to appeal to SMBs because they want to get that product-led approach and get signups. And they don't actually care so much about the enterprise folks with the homepage just because they go more of a sales-led approach. They don't really need to attract them with the homepage. They can worry about other pages of the site. So yeah, it's a interesting approach.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about the industries you mostly work with, and let's chat about it, how they can set up the whole motion that they got from the website through the closing demand and then creating demand if there's a need for that.
Yeah. Do you want to start with the SEO side of things, or would you prefer with the website?
However do you want it?
Let's start with SEO because then we can get a bit more actionable. Then we can maybe lead into how the website can then kind of capture that
Yeah, but
demand.
I agree, because basically to get to the website, you need to do a research and get all the data that you need.
Yeah. Let's do that, and then we can kind of give some tips on the site. So, in terms of we mainly these days, most of our clients are B2B SaaS, but we occasionally work with service-based companies. I enjoy working with both. Now, most of these folks, right, they're coming to us for SEO, or they want to invest in SEO, as really they want to drive demos or signups or leads for their sales team. That's the long short of it. Yes, they also want to build up brand reputation. They want to build mind share. They want to ramp up relevant traffic. But most of the time, the end goal is to get demos, signups, trials, or leads. So a lot of B2B, a lot of SaaS companies just take the completely wrong approach of SEO. And there's a number of reasons why it happens. It could be just because they've got a super small marketing team. And when I say small, I mean marketing team of one. And that marketer might be trying to juggle 100 things on their plate every week. And what we'll often see is they're one of the execs, maybe one of the revenue leaders, the founder, whatever, will say to them, I keep seeing our competitors ahead of us in organic search. And I think it's about time that we invested in SEO. So we start kind of ramping up traffic. The problem is that marketing managers, not necessarily a specialist in SEO, they're a jack of all trades, master of none, but they want to get it done. So they'll say, look, I'll try and juggle in some SEO this week. So they'll go onto a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush, look up like a high volume, high traffic keyword, like what is X, like what is a KPI, or how to do this, like some super high volume traffic keyword. They'll chuck in that keyword into a tool like ChatGPT, pump out a blog, maybe make a few tweaks to it, chuck it on their website, publish that article, and then get back to the other 100 marketing jobs they've got for the week. And then a couple of months go by, and the revenue leader or the founder will go back to them and say, how did SEO go? And they'll say, yeah, it went fine. I published a page. And the marketing leader or the revenue leader might say, well, how much traffic and leads did it drive? And then they'll say, well, you didn't tell me to do SEO to drive leads or relevant traffic. You just said do some SEO, and I did some SEO, right? And that's where it goes wrong, really. It's not got a strategy behind it. And often that's due to lack of know-how, lack of resources, and folks starting at the top of the funnel, i.e. targeting informational queries instead of sales-focused queries, i.e. the crux of doing SEO well is understanding what does my dream client search for on Google when they want to speak to a salesperson around my offer or similar. So that basically taking the opposite approach. So one of the simplest exercises that you can do, which is exactly what I did when I started breaking B2B's new website like 7-8 months ago, is fire up a Google sheet or an Excel sheet. And one of the simplest ways to find out kind of relevant, what we call money keywords to drive leads or demos or signups is, I usually encourage folks to write out a list, like make a column of what are the main offers you want to sell, i.e. maybe it's calendar scheduling software if that's what you provide, or maybe it's a certain software or certain tool or certain service. That's one column. Column 2 is what are the main industries or niches that I want to break into. Ideally, these are industries or niches that you've historically sold well into, or they definitely have the problem you fix. They're motivated to fix it. And most importantly, they've got cash to invest in the offer, because we don't want someone that's got the problem we fix but can't afford it. And then another column would be for main problems that you fix, along with what folks tend to do in-house to try and resolve the issue. So in software's case, it's usually the in-house way of the DIY way of doing most things yourself is an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. Like CRM, most people are kind of struggling with a Google Sheet or something in-house, and they eventually get so frustrated, they waste so much time, they look up for how to do a better way on Google. And then one more column, if you're in software, you want to list all your main competitors. So what are the competitors that always come up on sales calls? Top 3, top 4. And the reason we're doing this exercise is to clearly map out kind of what folks might search for. And then basically you want to make long tail keywords out of each one. So an example I often use is, let's pretend our offer is calendar scheduling software. So one of the competitive keywords we might go for is be like best calendar scheduling software or best calendar scheduling tools or best calendar scheduling platform. Those are going to be really competitive. They're going to be quite hard to rank because we'll be going up against like HubSpot meetings, Calendly, Chili Piper, Revenue Hero, all those folks. So those might be long-term efforts to rank for because they're going to drive good traffic, good leads. But we want to niche down a bit. So going for longer tail keywords like the industries we serve. So that might be calendar scheduling software for sales teams or for HR teams or for finance or for all those niches we serve well. Those would be good opportunities. And then you can run those through Hrefs or SEMrush to see what traffic they get. And if they've got a bit of traffic, that's fine. Most of these keywords won't get a ton of traffic, which is good. It means less people are searching for it, but the ones that do have buying intent. And the other common keywords that work well in B2B and SaaS are alternative-based keywords. So if we carry along the calendar scheduling tool route, then that might be Calendly alternatives or Chili Piper alternatives or Revenue Hero alternatives. Or also you can go after things like Revenue Hero pricing or HubSpot meeting pricing or those kind of keywords. And once we've exhausted that and we've said, look, these are these bottom of the funnel keywords that folks are going to search when they want to speak to a salesperson or sign up for our offer, the most simple way of working out what content is going to rank for those keywords is just literally Google the keyword. So if it was Calendly alternative, type that into Google, see what the top 3 organic search results are. And then this is called assessing the intent, the page intent. So usually these type of keywords will bring up a page like the top 10 Calendly alternatives for 2024. And that basically is called a product listicle. And the way those are typically built is you have 10 competitors listed out and you normally list your own offer as number 1. But where companies sometimes go wrong is they'll kind of just talk about how great the offer is and the features and stuff, where really you want to share what differentiates you in the market and why your customers choose you over those competitors. So that might be with, you have an introduction to what the software is. Then maybe you have a nice comparison table with you against the main offer, like why folks choose you. Maybe some social proof, like a customer review and quote, like explaining why they chose you, and then a call to action to kind of book that sign up or demo. And then you'll have the other nine competitors with a fair summary of those below. So that's usually how they're formatted. But it might be that the keyword that you're searching for when you look at the top 3 organic results might be a landing page, might be an article, might be a how-to. It depends on kind of where it is, but usually bottom and middle of funnel are quite often product listicles or landing pages, typically from experience. So a lot of it is about assessing kind of what's ranking now and then looking for how you can completely blow that page out the water. So in my case, I don't really take half measures. So if I saw rank 1 was a top 10 list, I'd say, well, screw it, let's do a top 20. Like, let's make ours like way better. Way more helpful, way more useful. Some time ago, Google introduced a framework called EEAT, Experience, Expertise, Authority, and Trust. So if you can make your page more useful, more detailed, more helpful, and get it written alongside a subject matter expert from your team, it can do wonders. And then just to quickly, before I take a breath, touch on technical SEO. There's technical SEO kind of gets a bad rep in B2B and SaaS websites. And that's because so many agencies spend like months and months on reports kind of saying like, you need to edit your image tags, you need to edit this, you need to make your website speed 0.2 seconds quicker. And just most of it's a load of BS. Like, unless your website takes 2 minutes to load or looks like a potato on mobile view or something like that, you're going to be fine as long as it has a decent design and is easy to navigate. The only main things you need to do from technical SEO is identify the keyword or keywords for the page, have that within your URL. So if it was what we just said there, it might be yourdomain.com/Calendly-alternatives. Have that keyword within your meta title, your meta description, have it within your H1. It's pretty much all you need. You don't need that much more to rank. And then apart from that, the main advantage, especially if you're a startup or business that can move fast is publishing those pages. So working out what are those money keywords and starting to build and craft that content, get it published as quick as you can, see how it ranks, then worry about optimizing it later. So that, I'll take a breath there, but that's kind of some actionable ones that work quite well for B2B and SaaS.
Yeah, and I didn't want to stop you. You were in your flow. I remember once I was on a podcast and they asked me a question and it didn't stop me once. I talked for 35 minutes.
It's easily done, isn't it? Sometimes when
You
go
know,
off on one.
and they thought the episode was great, and I was like, I could have shared a lot more that you if you ask, aside questions. But you said so many important things. I want to tell to the people, go back now to the beginning of the episode and listen to everything again, especially this part, bit by bit. Sam just told you, step by step how you can do it, what do you need to pay attention to. But before you get to all that, you need to actually know how they call your product, right? You actually need to know who are your competitors. You need to know, is there a problem that you are solving? Also, you need to know if your competitors have that one feature, that is missing, and you have it, that can differentiate you from the others, right? Sam also mentioned that you need to, mention how you are differentiating from the others. Usually, that's one feature. You don't need to tell all the features, right? And then if you are, somebody who understands things, because I figure out a lot of companies who are building the website, especially if they're starting, they don't understand, the power of, having the names of your competitors on a website, right? Maybe they are not ready yet, not, there yet, but in a way that will make it easier for them to understand, for your audience to understand, like, these are the features that your competitors don't have, but you have these one or two or maybe three that others don't have. That's why you are a perfect match for your audience. In time you will build all of the features that your bigger competitors have, right? That will happen. But if you have all of them and you don't have these one, two, or three, then you might struggle.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I'll tell you what, another advantage that a lot of larger companies, especially as you get higher mid-market, higher enterprise, a lot of in the software space, they don't want to talk about their competitors at all because they're scared stiff of legal cases. And I get that. But the problem is when you search for a lot of these keywords, be it best X software, like best proposal software, best calendar scheduling software, best CRM software, whatever, or you're searching those competitor keywords like competitor alternative, nearly all the time they bring up product listicles. And if you're not, and what I mean, like the top 10 alternatives, whatever, or the top 10 X software solutions for 2024. And if you're not doing those kind of pages, it's going to be really, really difficult for you to rank and capture that traffic and capture those demand. And like you said, B2B folks, like we talked about at the start of this conversation, they compare 3 or 4 or more vendors. And if you're not consistently showing up in those results and kind of being thought amongst your competitors, then you're losing mind share. You're not getting put in those top lists, and you're missing out on that demand, those inbound opportunities, and more. So it's, if you are able to publish that content at a relatively good pace, and we didn't talk about things like building backlinks because those more competitive keywords might be a lot more difficult to rank, especially if you're on a domain that's fresher or you haven't got much authority. But if you aren't doing some of these things, then your competitors are going to almost get a free lunch.
How do you look at the link building? I always had this explanation that I'm using about link building. It's like, how you are choosing friends. That's how you choose the domains you are connecting with, right? Do you trust them? Do you want to be connected with them? Do you want others to see you with them? And that's what I like to use when I tell to people, that's how you choose the domains you are linking to.
Yeah. I mean, on our site, so my site, breakingb2b.com, was, we kind of built the domain rating from 0 to 40 in a few months. And I didn't do anything mad. Like, most of it was through partnerships. So there's like a lot of companies have quick wins on building really good links, but they're kind of sleeping on. So like, one really nice way is if your founder or if someone from your exec team has had past press or media or coverage, or they've been on some kind of PR, or they've been listed on articles, or they've done past stuff where perhaps that website or the article is just linked generically to the homepage or not even included the link to you. Like if you've got a list of those, or you can find those, and you can probably use that from a tool like Hrefs, and you can kind of just search for your own domain and search for some of the sites that are linking to you. There is the ability to look at your own links. And if you can then reach out to those companies and just say, look, I'd really appreciate it if you can change this link to one of the pages we're targeting for this specific keyword, then most of the time they will play ball. Or another quick win for backlinks is what we're doing now. So podcasting on niche relevant, industry relevant shows. And then when they publish it to their website on an article page, you can ask for a link back to one of the search terms you're targeting to the relevant page. Partnerships are really good. Like we do quite a lot of partnership, for example, with folks
that's something that's often underutilized.
Huge. Yeah. Partnerships are great. If you can find companies that go after the same ICP, the same target clients, but are not direct competitors. So a live example is we do B2B and SaaS SEO. And then, Justin Rowe, he runs Impactable B2B LinkedIn ads. So we've done a few pieces of content with him. I just send, I'm a big fan of, if I'm not familiar with people, I just send them painfully short messages like, hey, Justin, I've got a weird idea for kind of creating content and driving inbound each other's way. Are you against a discussion? Something like that, like painfully short, but piques their curiosity. And then most of the time they'll say like, yeah, what the hell do you want, Sam? Like, what are you on about? And then I'll just send them a Loom video with an idea or something like that. And then, create content together. Like you might start light, like a guest article on their website, which is useful to their audience, targets a relevant search term. And in response, they'll get some good traffic and you can get a link back to your site. Maybe you do a podcast together. Maybe you do a YouTube episode together. Maybe it's a guest post. Maybe it's a LinkedIn contribution, whatever. But the good thing about that is it's not just good for getting a link back to your site, but it's also good for reciprocal business. Because if they go after the same target market, but are not a direct competitor, they might be able to send referrals your way, introductions. Exactly. There's so much more than just SEO that comes off partner place, which I'm sure you've experienced as well, Nemanja, with kind of partner companies. It's just a good business sense as opposed to just SEO, right?
Exactly, and I think that leads me to one more question that I wanted to ask you. Middle of the funnel content. Not many people talk about it. Usually they focus on top of the funnel content, creating a brand awareness, and then bottom of the funnel content, right? When we close deals. But middle of the funnel is exactly where the partnerships are. And I wanted to ask you to give listeners a couple of advices of what they can do when it comes to creating mid-size of the funnel content, especially from the SEO perspective.
Yeah, I'll talk to kind of a few ways, and this might be considered a bit more top funnel content, and then we can talk about, I guess, more towards the bottom.
It's always a mixture, right?
Everyone's got their own definition, haven't they? One person's bottom of funnel will be someone else's mid, and then vice versa. But let's talk about what we do. I mean, one content strategy, which is really nice, is a framework called Jobs to be Done. And that's basically understanding what are your dream clients' struggling moments when they perhaps do not know your offer exists, but they're facing the problem that you solve. And that often comes in the way of how-to searches, but I'm not just talking about basic top funnel searches like what is a KPI or, I don't know, how to build a website, something super simple. I'm talking about really crisp and specific moments. Like that might be like how to create a content calendar within Google Sheets, or how to import data from Google Sheets to Gmail, or something really specific that folks come to. Like we talked about earlier, a lot of people, like the enemy of CRM is probably internally a spreadsheet. And you must have heard like the best way to get some of this intel is from listening to gong calls or sales calls or talking to your sales team. And then you basically say like, what are the top 3-4 things that we always hear that folks are doing in-house? Like what's the way they're getting the job done today? And what is that tipping point where they become so frustrated that they realize they've got to reach out to a company like ours to improve because they're facing churn issues, they're facing retention issues, they're losing revenue, they're losing time, or they're facing some kind of expensive problem. And then if you can solve that in the way of a keyword that makes sense, and some of these keywords might not get that much traffic, but if you're hearing them a lot on sales calls or customer success calls, then they make sense because people are actually searching for them. And those can be really good. So if we do like, I don't know, how to create a content calendar in Google Sheets, or how to export this data between this platform to this platform, from Gmail to Google Suite, whatever it is. And then if you can create an article that addresses the problem straight away, it says, look, you're probably facing this problem. There is one way to do this internally. Alternatively, if you want to save 5 hours a week on admin, like, consider our product, consider our solution. Here's an example of it. Here's the offer in action. Here's the demo. Here's some social proof of a customer, and like, sign up for a free trial. And so many SaaS, so many B2B companies are scared to weave their product within their articles. Like, they write these great articles, but aren't that well designed. So they rank on Google, but they look like a wall of text, and they don't actually mention their product. Like, just look at Ahrefs, the beast of the game. Like, all their articles rank super well. They always involve their product. They link to other product pages. They have great screenshots. They have examples. Like, you really should. Most SaaS companies are guilty of not weaving in their product in these kind of articles, and like encouraging folks to either sign up or maybe get into their ecosystem. So listen to their podcast or grab a lead magnet, whatever makes sense. But yeah, those specific how-to job to be done queries are really, really powerful. And then I suppose lower down the funnel, it's more like when folks perhaps don't know what vendors are out there, because I'd consider real bottom of funnel keywords, things like competitive alternative keywords and stuff like that, or competitive pricing keywords, or vendor pricing, or that kind of stuff. But then I'd suppose lower down mid funnel might be stuff like best X software, best X tools, or those kind of keywords, which again, those tend to bring up listicles or top comparison pages, that kind of stuff. So yeah, a few ideas there that tend to work quite well.
I love that. I will just add, what I like to do if I have space, time, or other resources, people to do that. For example, like using a podcast episode, right? And it's at least two people, talking to each other. Then we craft an article out of it. We have a headline, which is exactly what you described, targeting specific keyword and going towards specific direction. Then doing a write-up, like the article out of it. We embed the links to YouTube, different audio platforms, even the smaller bits of it. And then what I like to do, also use that part as a part of the article as a post on LinkedIn, for example. And the most controversial one with the point of view, and actually getting the feedback from the people, and then embedding that inside the article. So then it's not just two of us talking, there's other people as well, and they will share it. And basically it's kind of like a modern write-up when you get like 10 experts on a field to talk about one topic, right? It's a little bit more in-depth and more created to target specific things.
Yeah, I like it. And that makes sense as well. So obviously you're a B2B service provider or consultant. And if you can actually weave in, like, where so many articles go wrong, it's like I say, they can rank by all means, but they're not weaving in actions. They're not weaving in proof. They're not weaving in the product. And folks want to get under the hood of it. Like, if you're a SaaS company, they want to see the offer in action. They want to see what customers are saying. They want to play around with the tool. So sometimes you just got to kind of step out and realize that how customer behavior, how your buyer behavior works.
Exactly, and those like small things, if you can actually show them, right? I remember on the article having a graphic of the whole process that I'm doing, and I'm telling them, it's usually too small, right? To look at it. They can embed it, but it's graphic written on a white paper. So I tell them, click through it. Then you go to the video when I use Loom and went through each segment of that. Like, that video really blew up on LinkedIn because people were coming to the article, then clicking on it, they were going to it. But I want to tell to the people, that's how you create the whole ecosystem. It's not just one thing, just the written content or video or anything. You create all together every time that you do it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what you touched on as well, the distribution strategy as well. Like,
exactly.
if the content can hold its own, then you can break down these articles into mini LinkedIn posts, or if you've embedded a video that's relevant to the topic, then that video can go natively on LinkedIn or other social channels, and you can make infographics. So if you're writing your content that that's for Google originally, but it's so good, so useful, so helpful, so in depth, and that can be broken down into so much more.
Exactly. So, ending up this part, tell me two things for people to get out of the podcast episode, and also where they can find more info about you, except LinkedIn. Repeat again the name of the podcast, because I want them to remember and go and listen to it, because it's a really good one.
Yeah. You mean two things they can get out of this episode?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's my focus is really actionable tips. So how you can actionably, tactically start ranking your B2B or SaaS website on Google. So the initial foundational stuff, getting found for what we call money keywords or bottom of funnel or commercial queries, and then how you can start creating content that ranks. And then at the start, we talked about kind of the fundamentals of websites, so you can build trust with your target clients and convert them into leads, signups, or demos. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Nemanja. If you want to learn more, Sam Dunning on LinkedIn, or check out the Breaking B2B podcast. Or if you can't be asked to do any of this stuff yourself and you're tired of seeing competitors ahead of you in organic search, then take a look at breakingb2b.com, and happy to chat and see if we can help you.
Yeah, I also recommend listening to the podcast, especially while you're walking on the street. Like Sam has this voice, and it's really a nice thing to listen while you are actually walking, and he's saying smart things. So that's a bonus.
Occasionally, yeah. Cheers.
As goes to all of us. Okay, guys. So thanks for watching or listening one more episode of Funky Marketing Podcast. Go back to the beginning of the episode, listen to everything again. Stop when you hear something that's new or that's important. Go back to do more research. Send a message to Sam if you have any questions, and keep it funky, and see you in the next episode. Cheers.